Alright, and I'm bringing out the heavy artillery on this one. Anna the Annihilator. And we just watched Malignant, directed by James Wan, whom we've always had faith in.
Always.
And, you know, he's never really let us down before, but times are a-changin'.
Wait.
Yeah. So, like, we were ultra hyped for this movie. And we've let that hype die down, though, so it's not like we went in like, yeah, fuck yeah, and then it wasn't like, you know, an A+, you know, film or something, and, you know, like we were just really, you know, like it didn't live up to our high expectations.
Yeah, it wasn't like that. We were super pumped at first, and then got really busy with our new project. So we gave Malignant a little space, a little air to breathe.
Yeah.
But we're both really careful not to check any reviews, not to ask anybody what they thought, anything. So I think our expectation had kind of mellowed.
Yeah.
But we were excited.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. We were really looking forward to it once we finally got to sit down and watch it.
Yeah.
And yeah, we hadn't watched... I had no fucking clue what it was about. Like, I hadn't watched a trailer for it.
Yeah.
No reviews, nothing. Went in totally blind. And just to give you guys like a basic rundown, so it starts off in the 90s, and a doctor is doing like a vlog with an old school camera.
Yeah.
And she's talking about this patient and all this, and it's mysterious, and then shit goes haywire.
Like, extremely haywire.
Yeah,
really
like
fast.
right off the bat. Like,
mayhem, blood.
yes. Yeah, it's quick with that. Like, it doesn't give you a second to breathe, really. So it gets you intrigued.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially because, like, this patient is no ordinary patient either. They can apparently, like, manipulate electricity.
Yeah, which it also throws at you in the first, 2.5 minutes of the movie. So it's...
Yeah.
Yeah. So you kind of have... I think it's... The movie itself creates expectation for you for something really supernatural happening.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, the patient just starts messing people up, man. Like, just wiping people out with the quickness. And then, like, we fast forward to present time, and the story follows or centers around, like, this woman who's in an abusive relationship. Fast forward a little bit more, and all of a sudden then she's not in an abusive relationship anymore because something breaks into her house and goes ahead and wipes out that problem for her real quick.
Yeah. Speaking of annihilation.
Yeah. So, like, but, yeah, and then it just follows her, and she has some sort of, like, psychic link to this entity, being, killer, whatever you want to call it. You don't really know what it is at first.
Well, you know for sure it's a killer.
Yeah, it's a killer.
That's an easy,
But like, she has like this psychic connection with it. Like, she can see through its eyes
as it continues to go on a killing spree.
Yeah, and like, I will say, like, the transitions, like when it moves from like her world to the killer's
awesome effect.
Yeah, great effect, really cool, and I love that like bounce back effect they do in that one scene, like when she snaps back to her reality or whatever you want to, her life, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, and it goes from there. I don't really want to spoil anything. We might talk about spoilers later on in the video, but
I gotcha.
But yeah, so like that's the basic setup, anyway, and things start falling apart though. Like, that sounds like a decent premise. Like, the premise is there. Somebody had a cool idea at one point, which the story is by like James Wan and a couple of other people.
Right.
But then one of those people went on to write the screenplay solo, I guess.
Yes. Yeah.
And then James Wan took it and directed it, so...
Like, the direction is there. There's some beautiful camera work. I'd be shocked to hear that he didn't build the entire set again like he did for the first Conjuring movie. Because there's some of the shots he gets inside the home kind of make it clear that that's what he did, in which case, like, bravo. Yeah. There's some really, really cool... There's some great shots. Some great follow shots, some great... all of that. So the directing was... Yeah,
like at one point you said... At one point, I mean, this was a great shot, but you said it was like watching, when she is running from whatever's in her
entity,
house.
Yeah.
You said it was like watching a rat in a maze.
Yeah, it's exactly what it looked like.
Yeah, so great cinematography and great directing and editing, in parts, but there were some not so good parts of the film too.
Yeah, I'd say halfway or a little more than halfway, it really kind of fell apart for us, just to be honest. Yeah.
And like with James Wan and his storytelling, when of course, we know him from the Saw franchise and The Conjuring and all this. And
well, that's a really great way to put our review, our two separate, like our reviews, like in perspective. So Steven's favorite James Wan movie is Saw.
Yeah.
My favorite is The Conjuring, the original Conjuring. That's kind of more my wheelhouse. So I think we both had really high expectations, but from two really kind of different James Wan perspectives.
Yeah. And like with him, where he's such a great storyteller, like we know a twist is coming typically, but you don't know what the hell it is. Like that's one great thing, like especially with the Saw franchise, a lot of the time, like the twist is coming. What the hell it is, you're not so sure about, and then it like blows your mind. With this one, it's obvious that a twist is coming. Like, it's obvious from the get-go. A twist is coming. It's just, we figured out what it was.
Faster than we thought we should, but thought we were, like, joking with each other. Like, wouldn't it be funny if this is what the twist is? And it
yeah, and it was. Yeah, so we figured out what the twist was, and we didn't even freaking want it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was bad. Some other things, though, speaking of storytelling and stuff like that, there's some things in this film that really pull you out of it. It pulls you out of the story. For instance, like the soundtrack, which, like, at first kind of bordered for me. It was like, cool, maybe not cool, but then they started using conflicting sounds and, genres of music, maybe?
Yeah. That's a perfect way of putting it. They kind of mixed genres of music to a point where when it would switch from kind of the classical orchestral movie soundtrack into something else, it kind of
like highly produced, digitized music.
Yeah. It kind of pulled you out of it. You were like, okay, mood change. Like,
it was jarring.
Yeah. And then the digitized music was a cover of a Pixies song, and so immediately you're like, oh, what am I listening? I'm listening to someone. Did they steal this? The riff.
Yeah, pulled us out. Like it was like.
But they didn't. It's a cover, but it did make us question, like, whoa, they didn't write this. This isn't. But it's written in such a way that it sounds like a soundtrack, as opposed to using the song in the film, which you're used to seeing all the time. But it's just like an orchestral, like a techno cover.
Synthwave?
It's perfect. A synthwave cover of a Pixie song, and we both just, every time it started, we know this song. We know which shouldn't be happening in the moments where they use the song.
Yeah, it happened in like impactful moments or points in the story where you should really be focusing on what's going on and you're into the story and trying to figure things out.
And instead you're sitting there going, wait a minute, I know this song.
Yeah, I know this song. Where did this song come from? Did they steal this song?
Just, the first few bars of music. Like, that's what because then then the music changes enough to like, okay, no, but which again leaves you wondering, did they steal the first 3 bars of this song?
Yeah, it was really weird. And then I remember, like, there's one point specifically where they do, like, it's called, like, a J-cut or something like that, where, like, you hear the sound from another scene while you're still seeing a separate scene. So, and I know you know what I'm talking about, because they put music in there for another scene while we're still watching something else take place.
Yeah. And I know you've seen that in other movies, and if it's done right, it's cool.
It's great.
It can work really well.
And sometimes it's such a widely used thing. It's a very common practice in editing that a lot of the times it happens and you don't even notice it happens. This, you noticed it, and it was jarring, and it was bad. because it cuts from like, what was it? It was like an intense scene maybe, and then it has that music in there, and then cuts to a scene of somebody like doing laundry or something, like, or listening to music on like an old
radio.
Yeah,
just
so
an old like
it was a terrible transition.
Yeah. Which is interesting because I feel like James Wan is really, one of the things he's famous for is his sound design. And I feel like if you don't include your soundtrack into your overall sound design...
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you have...
some things, kind of fall through the cracks. And that's kind of what happened in this movie. Because there are definitely other elements to the sound design in the film that work, that are very classically James Wan. That kind of that deep... ominous, like
foreboding.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
so it's like all of that is still happening, and then you've got this really bizarre soundtrack that doesn't work, and it's like, well, then it doesn't matter what else you're doing with your sound design if your soundtrack doesn't work within that sound design. Falls apart.
Yeah, because it's almost like he mixed, like I said, how he mixed genres. It's almost like he mixed film genres as well. Like that soundtrack would have suited a Saw film better, or Dead Silence better. But this is, I don't. It's kind of a mishmash, this movie though too, which is another problem with it.
Which leads to like even the genre of the film ends up being a bit of a mishmash. So in the first couple minutes of the movie, well, and really I would say almost the first 10, 15, if not longer, bits of the movie, you really get the sense this is a supernatural film. And once the twist is revealed, you're okay, it's not supernatural, though it's I don't know, maybe supernatural works in so much as that, like, it's beyond what would actually happen in nature.
It's okay, it's not paranormal.
It's not paranormal, but you're led to believe that it is, but it's definitely...
Yeah.
And then it takes on almost like a action film, like...
Yeah, absolutely.
You're, like, following, like, a super villain.
Yeah. That's literally what I was standing here thinking. Like, it almost comes off as like a damn superhero movie.
But like a supervillain movie.
Yeah.
So maybe like Venom.
Yeah.
Like that kind of thing where it's like you've got this...
And there's a beginning scene, we talked about the boyfriend and the relationship. In the beginning, probably like the first 10 minutes, I know you know what I'm talking about, when they're sitting on the couch, or it's sitting on the couch. I thought immediately, like, okay, supernatural... Paranormal.
We're watching another ghost film.
Yay. Yeah, for sure. And that's kind of what I expected out of this too. Yeah. We didn't watch any trailers. We knew nothing.
Right.
And, I kind of expected a paranormal, kind of expected it too.
And and I feel like the setup of the movie makes you think that as well. Yes,
it does. And but they don't do a great job. Like, okay, cinematography's there, soundtrack's bad. The storytelling, though, like, they do not do a great job of telling the story. Like, it is a bad script. It comes down to a bad script.
It's a bad script. And I know that sounds like a really harsh, like, firm judgment, but...
It is.
It's a combination of things, because it's not only were there major holes in the storytelling... at least to our perspective, there were also moments of extremely cheesy dialogue that really pull you out of some key moments, and it's so that combination is like you can't say anything other than it's a bad script. It's a bad script.
It really is. It's not buttery smooth in any way.
Well, and it's like I think in both cases we can kind of compare it to our favorite James Wan films. One of the things I love about The Conjuring, and for further perspective, like Poltergeist is my favorite horror film, and but the two have a lot in common in so much as like the families are so believable. The way they speak to each other, the things they say, it's just you fall so naturally into feeling like a part of the family. It's like you get it. You recognize that mom, you recognize that dad, you recognize that relationship with the siblings, and James Wan had that in The Conjuring.
Absolutely.
And that is not true in this movie at all. The relationship between the siblings, not believable. Not
at all. Very...
Or at least one-sided. I don't know. It was really bizarre.
Yeah, and it's not...
But the things they say to each other, especially at the end, which is such a, the climactic moment, and this big emotional... And it's like...
And it's... Yeah, the relationship is really weird. Like, they do better with the sister, but when they bring the mom in...
Also very stilted.
Yeah, it's like...
Yeah.
It's so like, well, you're my daughter, I know you. Or do I? Like, it's...
Yeah, the dialogue was really... Especially for the protagonist. Like, she had a lot of really overwrought dialogue. Like, a lot. You know, it's like... something you and I would take back to the writing table. It's like, it's her inner dialogue. Her inner dialogue is like, she says it all out loud, and it's kind of like, no, take that back. You have to take that. Okay, good. It's good that you know as the writer what she feels, what she's thinking, but now you've got to take that back. How would somebody actually say that out loud to somebody? They wouldn't just spew everything they're thinking, and they make this character spew. You know, the basis for everything she should be saying out loud. It's like, she's got to tell you all her reasoning, all the thinking, all the...
Well, film is a visual medium. Yeah. You tell your story via visuals.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, this, it's more spoken. Like, and the dialogue for it, like, it can work. We've seen it work before, you know. I mean, it can.
It can. I love the written word. I love it. I think their film has shown some really poignant, beautiful dialogue. Mm-hmm. So I will never say, like, dialogue isn't important or can't be there or can't be the triggering moment. Like, I really, there's some lines that still, every time I hear them, they make me cry. You know what I'm talking about. Yes. Like, there are some lines in film that no matter how many times I see a particular movie, once so-and-so says the line,
yeah. But the way, like...
This is not that. This is not...
You know what a good word for the dialogue in those, like, impactful and stuff like that? Inappropriate. It was inappropriate for the moment.
Okay, so the moment we're speaking of specifically is at the very end. It's between the protagonist and her sister. Mm-hmm. I have a very, very close sister, and I remember in the moment after our protagonist went on and on and on and on and on, I looked at Steven and I said, nothing. My sister and I would say nothing in that moment. We would grab each other, cry, kiss, hold each other, and that's it. Nothing would need to be spoken between us at all. That's the kind of, for the kind of bond they were attempting to show between these two sisters in the movie. When you have that kind of bond, you don't have to say anything.
Nope.
And she said a lot.
A lot. And it was... I'm going to tell you now, like, the dialogue...
And it was cheesy.
Yeah, it was, literally, I was about to say, it's cringy. That was the word I was going to use, is cringy, to describe some of those moments, and there's more than one. But I think a problem that they fell into with speaking too much, and the dialogue and all that, is that they clearly had a message in this film they wanted to get across, and they want you to know it, and they really throw it out there and put it right in your face, and that's what lends to some of that dialogue too, because that shit was cringy too.
It was. The thing that's difficult though about saying, like, again, maybe a writing issue, is you didn't get the sense during the rest of the movie that the movie had a message. I think you were trying it's like there was too much going on that didn't have anything to do with the ultimate end of the story, so that you never really... So, our protagonist and this entity have a very specific relationship, and I didn't think they spent enough time on that relationship.
Absolutely not.
To get you to a good climax, or to get you to the message they wanted to get you to.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So it didn't serve either purpose. So it's like, clearly at the end, you get this kind of soapbox messaging at the end.
Yeah.
That didn't have a foundation earlier in the film, or at least I didn't pick up on it until that moment. And then I was like, well, okay, I guess that's...
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, they had a clear message, And I think they poured it out in the dialogue, and their characters overspoke, and that may have been part of their problem. Like, they may have gotten to a point where, like, oh shit, like, we didn't include enough of this or that to, like, build this up and build this message up to where you get it. So they literally had their characters, like, say it at the end.
Yeah. In both cases, really.
Yeah.
You know, both what she says to the antagonist and in what she says to her sister. It's like, oh, this is the arc we wanted for each of these relationships. And it's like, well, you didn't... You didn't get there in the story, so now you're getting there in your dialogue, and that's
it was so cringy.
Yeah.
Poorly done.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah.
Yeah. And okay, so I guess now is the part where we are going to get into spoilers. Not fans of this movie, so if you haven't seen it yet, that's our opinion on it. But now we'll get into spoilers and kind of break it down a little bit more for y'all who want to stick around and know, who have seen the movie and get our feelings on it. I think they took a lot of liberties with these characters. They
Agreed.
were very, very, very dumb.
They were. They were. It's one of the things I really actually love about James Wan's films is all of the people seem,
smart.
like real human beings. They're thinking through every problem that they're being hit with. They're thinking through. They're coming up with some of the solutions. Yeah. That happens both in Saw and, well, really in that franchise. Like, it's all built around people trying to get themselves out of trouble.
Out of traps, and they're trying to figure out what the hell is going on. I mean, the first movie is two people are trapped in a bathroom somewhere, and they have to figure out why the hell they're there and how to get out of that situation.
And again, it's the same in The Conjuring. The mom goes looking for help for her family. She's not just passive in what's happening to her.
And what's the first thing that happens in Insidious?
I was gonna say one of the things I love about Insidious is
they're out of there, baby. Like, they're gone.
Well, and they think someone's broken into their home, so they call the cops. They put in an alarm. They do all these things that it's like, well, that's what real human beings would do. They wouldn't see an entity in their home and then go back to bed, which makes me nuts, but is exactly what happens in this new movie.
Oh my, so much. Like, so often. Like, okay, so this woman lived with her partner. Her partner is now deceased.
Murdered
in a very, like, gruesome, brutal way.
And she's attacked, and during the attack, she loses her child.
Yes.
Ends up hospitalized. Upon leaving the hospital, she goes right home.
Yeah, and she has a sister. She has a mother.
Yeah.
Like, and her mother, I think, is, like, handicapped, right?
Yeah.
So, like, her mother could probably use the help. Go live with her. Help her. Her mother's in a wheelchair. Her sister cares about her, and
deeply.
Like, it's, that's made clear throughout the thing. Go live with the sister. Ask the sister to spend the night. Do you not have any friends? Have friends over. Do something.
Yeah.
Like, get out of the damn house. You were just attacked here. Your partner was killed there.
Right. Like, and her first night home, she sees the entity, or seems to see the entity standing beneath the streetlight across the street from her home. Doesn't bother to call the police. Someone just murdered her husband, and she's not like, 911, I think the guy who broke into my home and killed my husband is standing beneath the streetlight across the street. Nope, she goes to bed.
And not only that, but they hint that they suspect her of the murder. So this would be like, Well,
one of the detectives does,
Yeah, so like, hey, Dick, wasn't me, get over here, the killer's back. Like, do something.
Right.
But, so there's that.
She is, so the protagonist, I think, is consistently TSTL, too stupid to live. Like, she really kind of is.
Yeah, because there's another scene.
But then, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, if you're going to stay on her.
Yes, I'm staying on her.
Yeah,
there's another scene that takes place in her house. She's...
A couple of them.
Yeah, but this one is like, what? Because she's like doing laundry or house chores and stuff like that. She literally sees this entity scurry across the floor.
Yeah.
Gives it maybe a weird look, like, that's odd. And then she goes directly back to doing laundry.
Yeah. If we're going to cover them all, there's a scene where she's walking into her kitchen and her back door swings open. Or she finds the back.
Yes.
The first thing is she finds the back door open. And
That was right after she saw the figure in the front yard, right?
No.
Or was it not?
No,
But it's clearly set up where she's scared and she suspects.
She's bolting multiple bolts on her front door.
Mm-hmm.
Turns to go into the rest of the house, and boom, her back door is wide open.
Yeah.
And my first thought was, if that were me, I'd be right out that door, over to her neighbor, over to whatever. Someone has opened my back. But instead, she walks over to it, locks it. Which immediately made me think, well, now you just locked yourself in the house with that thing.
You literally said that out loud. And I was thinking, as soon as she saw that door, I was like, keep walking. Get your ass right on out that door, because now it's in the house.
Run, girl, run.
Yeah.
But no.
No.
Locks the door, then stands back and watches the door open again. And I'm not even sure what happens after that, but she doesn't do anything. She does.
She stays. The same thing that always happens. What we're talking about is a good example of, how the movie, the direction, it pulls, there's jarring moments that pull you out of the movie, pull you out of the story. When she's doing the laundry and she sees that thing scurry across, doesn't do anything about it, and immediately goes back to doing the laundry, there's an amazing shot. Mm-hmm. Through the what was it? The dryer, the washer,
washing machine,
the washing machine. It looks really cool, a really cool shot. But I was busy sitting there, how the hell? What?
Why is she still doing laundry?
Why? Yes, you just saw this thing. Your husband was murdered. All this stuff's going on, and you go immediately back to doing laundry.
Yeah. And if there's some of you who are wondering, well, maybe you're supposed to read into, that she's grieving or that she's not really thinking straight. They never make that clear. There's there's no moments that would lead you to believe that this character is no longer thinking rationally, except that other than those moments where it's right now she needs to be doing something to preserve her life or safety or whatever. Those are the only moments where you really kind of question her ability to reason.
But she's such a dull character almost that you don't get much out of her. You don't she is a dull character. Our protagonist is probably the most dull character in the movie.
Yeah.
Because you get some, her sisters woo, I love you, sis, and all this. You get the detective who cracks a joke here and there. And, he's kind of fending off a crush from another CSI and teammate.
It's pretty cute.
I'd rather the movie have just followed them and their love story.
The detective and the CSI. Yeah.
That's how, but and then his, the other detective, the partner, she was just
she's
typical wisecracking.
Yeah, she's more of what you think of as that she's a little older, a little more
feisty,
a little more hard bitten. But you know what I mean? She's got that
very typical kind of character though.
For a detective, right? She's you could replace her with Tom Atkins or you know what I mean? That kind of kind of annoyed to even have to, be on another case kind of detective like that.
Now don't get us wrong, we love Tom Atkins, but Tom Atkins is the best. But this was this was generic.
You think she was a little too generic?
I think she was a little too generic. It's remember, because there's one scene where she's
they didn't give her any great lines.
They didn't. She's so I'm putting out an APB for Sloth from the Goonies. And then that was supposed to be hilarious.
And it was probably the best line she had the whole movie, so I get what you're saying.
It probably was, but it's this is a woman that was just attacked. She was in an abusive relationship. Her husband's dead. Everybody's dead. She might be a suspect. All these people are dying, and then she's joking about a drama.
Well, that's the same thing as the coroner who's always eating a sandwich.
That's true.
So
that is true, but I'm just saying, none of these characters were really that great.
None of them were. Well, okay, I'm not going to say none. The sister, the younger sister, is actually an extremely likable character. And actually seems to be driven. She's doing, she really is more than the protagonist of the story. She actively does something to try to help her sister.
She does, and it's they put a little more effort into the sister. Yeah. Because even when you first see her or whatever, she's in a princess dress or something.
Yeah.
Or, so there's a little bit of creativity with her, but I'm saying with the other characters, little typical there.
Yeah, probably.
And don't
probably.
give you a lot
Even
to work
the younger
with.
detective, he's likable, but never pushes you. The likable never goes far enough to make you really care about him.
Yeah.
Other than the fact that the SI agent has a crush on him.
Yeah, that was cute, though. I mean,
I
don't use that word often.
Oddly enough, it made you like him a little more.
It did.
Because she's so cute.
But, you know, and then we have some other scenes, you know, we're talking about dumbed down characters still. It follows this dude who eventually becomes a victim, but he's in like a motel room. He turns around.
Oh, he's in his apartment.
Or apartment, excuse me. He's in an apartment. He turns around and his window is suddenly open. And it's raining outside.
Like pouring rain.
You know. And he goes over after a pause, closes the window, notices that there are literally wet footprints on the floor leading to the closet.
Right, from the window to the closet.
From the window to the closet. And doesn't he stares down the closet for a while.
The dark closet.
The dark closet. That son of a bitch turns around and goes right to bed.
No, well, the first thing he does is he goes into the dark closet.
Yes.
Goes into the dark closet, grabs a towel, and mops the floor up.
And that's it, right?
Weird. I wonder how... Nope. Mops the floor up and then goes to bed.
Goes to bed! Dude! Something just walked into your closet and all you're worried about is wiping up.
I mean, and I would have...
Stupid,
It would have even, been more believable to me if he had at least, popped his head out the window and been like, there's no way anybody could have gotten in here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Something. Had to be the wind. Whatever. Some moment that made you think that he was even considering the strangeness of these footprints. But he doesn't. He's, super practical about them.
Yeah. Yeah, and then we get into the detective, the main detective. He has an encounter with this entity, creature, whatever the hell you want to call it, because when you do see it, it does look like a creature.
Yeah.
It doesn't resemble any human.
No.
Really. So, he has an encounter with this thing. We're talking up close and personal. Gets into a fight with it, chases it.
A whole big chase scene.
Yeah, a huge chase scene.
And the thing never moves like a human, not for a moment.
This thing climbing walls. It's, doing all this stuff. And they arrest the woman. And he is the detective that's been in an encounter with this son of a bitch. Doesn't come to her defense or any of that. Look, it's clear the killer is clearly not her. They arrest her ass.
Yeah.
Dumb characters.
See, it all just comes together feeling like dumb characters.
And just expanding kind of on the dialogue now that we're free to give spoilers. When it gets to the end of the film and it gets to the twist, which is just ridiculous.
Her parasitic twin living on the back of her body.
Yes,
More specifically in her head.
Her head, but it's not visible until it wakes up. And then it literally protrudes.
Tears itself out of the back of her head.
And it turns out it's just her walking backwards is the creature.
Right. So, but it manipulates her joints in such a way, too, that you hear this popping, cracking, whatever, when it takes over, and it...
literally walks backwards,
It uses its arms backwards, but in a way that...
Yeah.
I get yoga and whatnot, but most of us would absolutely not be able to use our extremities that way.
Well, and you wouldn't be able to, burst through the back of someone's skull either, but...
Well, I'm not a parasitic twin in your brain either, so maybe I could.
Well, okay, but it is supernatural in the way that, this thing can manipulate electricity.
Yeah, it's drawing energy. Apparently, it drew energy from all of her pregnancies. She had, four miscarriages?
Yeah.
And that's how it kept drawing energy from her pregnancies, which also is not medically sound, as far as I know. And and on top of that, so it's sucking the life force out of her unborn children, but it's also sucking energy from the world around her.
Yeah. But, I mean, yeah, so it can manipulate electricity.
Mm-hmm.
It can climb walls.
Yeah.
And stuff. Like, it is like a super villain.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like watching some of the stuff it can do is almost like watching a lemur. Right, the way it it's definitely not human arms. Like these are, and the way it swings and lands and does all kinds of things. It's like that's not.
Yeah.
I'm not convinced a human body can do some of that stuff without significant training.
But like, so she has been like unaware of this thing, obviously living inside of her.
Yeah.
Like her whole life.
Yeah, it's basically. All suppressed memories.
Yeah. But then at the end, like there is nothing that shows like she's aware of this or has any kind of game plan or knows what the hell's going, any of that shit.
Yeah. Well, and they go to all this trouble of like unlocking some of her memories through hypnosis, and it only takes her back into thinking this thing is an imaginary friend.
Yeah.
It never takes her all the way back into remembering that she has a twin living in the back of her head, and the problem with that is by the time you get to the climax
is like that the twin can manipulate her brain in a way where she still sees like where she was when she went to sleep. Like that when she goes to sleep, that's still her reality. Yeah. So like if that happened to us, we would still be here doing a YouTube video, but that evil part of us that took over could be outside killing things.
Yeah.
So that's the explanation for that. And when it gets to the end, it like shows this inner battle in her mind, which we have never seen before.
Right.
Like we have never seen her communicate with this thing
at all
until the very end.
Yeah.
And like she's locking it in a cage inside of her own mind and is like, I'm taking control back, and
I'm in charge of, I'm in charge of my own body
and my own mind, and you're locked in this cage now, and the monster is like, well, I'll be back someday to get you again, and there's nothing you can do about it. And she literally says something like,
I'll be ready for you.
I'll be ready for you. Like, that's how she, I mean...
It's like a
And this is after he annihilated an entire police station.
Right, and so you've got not even 2 minutes, like a 1 minute wrap up to this like horrible conflict that we didn't even really know was going on until the end of the movie, but that she plays no part in until that last minute. She's a completely passive victim. Really, of what's happening to her this whole time, and without any kind of build-up of like, oh, she's gonna defeat this guy.
Yeah.
Oh, I see it. Oh, I see it. Nope, none.
Nope,
There's no build-up. You don't see it coming.
Yeah.
She has she has played the victim the whole movie, and then suddenly...
She's a badass. And like, she has a game plan.
Right? She's mentally a badass.
All of a sudden, she's a badass that has this game plan, and it's like, well, thank God that shit worked.
Yeah, yeah.
Like... Yeah. But that dialogue between her and the creature at the end, which is also happening at the same time the dialogue with the sister happens. Oh my God.
30 seconds before the dialogue with the sister, yeah.
It's so cringy.
Yeah.
Like,
so you spend the last 5 minutes of the movie, you're like, oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, but I think we have covered, one last thing I could say is like, James Wan should have directed Mortal Kombat.
Hey, there's some great, the scene where the parasitic twin utterly annihilates the police department is really great cinematically.
Yeah.
I thought it was like really fun. It's really gory.
For an action movie.
For an action movie, it didn't feel like it belonged in this movie at all.
No.
Like it pulled us out to the point where we started talking about Mortal Kombat. It's like, gosh, we really wish James Wan had directed that because it really needed a stronger director. That's another topic, but
so what we're saying is we've been disappointed with a lot of new movies, and we really thought James Wan.
We were counting on him. We really were. Yeah,
we really were. But Malignant, I am at a place where 5 out of 10 maybe 4 out of 10, actually.
Yeah.
I'm probably at a 4 out of 10, honestly. What about you?
Yeah, I'd agree.
4 out of 10?
Yeah, you know, the sad thing is it's one of those things where it's like you're having all these cringy moments while you're watching the movie, but the more you talk about it, the more you think about it, the worse it gets.
Yeah, it's like...
Sadly.
Yeah, it's like insult. I mean, it's insulting, and it's just...
A little bit.
Takes a lot. Yeah. Took a lot out of us.
Yeah, we are disappointed.
We really are so disappointed! But alright, that's it for this video, and damn if, you know, we've been battling gnats this whole freaking time. And
hopefully this turned out okay, without us.
Yeah. Son of a bitch. It warmed back up outside, and now they're getting in through the damn... Every time you open the door, one flies its ass in, I guess.
But let us know what you thought of Malignant.
Yeah. Let us know. Yeah, we definitely want to know. Leave us a comment. Like this video, of course. Share it around. For us, very, very, very much meh. Meh. That's where we're going to end this video. You ready? 3, 2, 1. Meh. We're dicks. Well, directed by James Wan, who has never really let us down before.
Got him!
Yes! Yes!
Like a tissue or something.
That son of a bitch! We did it!
Told you, I just needed you to stand still.
Yeah!
So he'd land on you again. Got him.
Yeah!
Anna the Annihilator!
Yes!
What's really weird is I have a glass of orange juice sitting right over there.
And he wanted me, because I'm sweeter than juice.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah.